Let's talk about steelhead flies. There's so many different fly patterns out there and a lot to choose from. But when it comes to winter steelhead flies, some of the variables that go into flies are really important to dial in. So first of all, the size of the fly, the overall size of the fly is important. So this is about an average size winter steelhead fly for me. So if I'm using a fly like this most of the winter, this is a good size fly. Now, there'll be times during the winter where the water clarity is really bad, and maybe I'm in knee-deep water, I could just barely see my boots or not even see my boots. That's when I want to go to a bigger size fly, maybe a little brighter fly. Okay, so it's got a big, bold profile, and that fly is going to be one that shows up well in the water. So as water conditions change throughout the winter, I'm going to be using different fly patterns. Now, so that's kind of what I do when the water is has less visibility. I go bigger and brighter. That's what I like to do. As the water gets clearer, then I like to switch to darker flies. Low and clear fly patterns like this here work really well for me, and even scale down a little bit smaller. I might make this a little bit smaller if the water is really on the low and clear side. But in general, 2.5, 3 inches or so is a really good winter steelhead size fly. Now you'll notice there's a lot of different colors in here, and color is another whole discussion that we could talk about ad nauseum. But when it comes to winter steelhead, kind of the colors you see here are really kind of a reflection of some of the best. Black and blue is really one of your best all around, every day, day in, day out, killer flies for winter steelhead. And this one here, we call this the provider. It's a killer pattern, one of our best providers. But you'll find that a range of colors work well in the winter. So I might switch to a fly like this here as the water's getting a green, kind of that green to clearish. As it gets clearer, I might switch to all black, something like this here. When the water has a lot of color in it, as I mentioned earlier, I like to use something with a lot of flash on it and a lot of kind of bold and big and bright. So something like this guy here. One of the things that's really important about your steelhead flies, for you guys that tie flies, is that hook should be at the back of the fly. So I could show you here with the provider a little easier. This stinger hook, we call that a stinger style hook. The hook is right here at the back. So when a steelhead grabs the fly, oftentimes they're kind of nipping at the back end of the fly. So that's where you want your hook. If you've got a hook right up here in the material, you're going to get a lot of grabs and no hookups. So that's an important aspect to how your fly is tied. Another thing that I've found to be very effective is the stinger style hook. So this fly is tied on what we call a shank, and it's got a metal wire here extending back to hold the hook exactly where we want it. Now what's great about that wire is it's a loop, and the loop can help us with the hook. If we've got a hook that's getting dull, and man, it's a great fly, I want to keep using it, I can simply change out that hook by just using that loop, take that off the loop, and then loop on another hook. Now one thing, when we're talking about hooks, positioning these is really important. So one of the things that you want, and another reason I like to have a lead eye on these flies, is it helps orient the fly to ride in the water a certain way. So this fly is going to ride like this in the water because the lead eyes are going to hold that side of the fly down. That's going to help the hook point ride up. When the hook point rides up, you're going to have fewer snags. You're going to spend more time fishing and be more effective. So the other thing that's really important to keep in mind about how this hook is positioned on the fly is that when it's hook point up or towards the surface, you're going to catch more steelhead hooked in the mouth on the top of the mouth, okay? So versus when this is positioned down, okay, you're more likely to hook that fish in the bottom of the mouth or even in the gill rakers, which could be potentially lethal for steelhead. So it's really important that that hook position rides upwards, because a lot of flies you get out of the fly bin at the fly shop, the hook is actually on there backwards of how you should fish it. So those are a couple tips about flies. Try those. I think that'll really help you. And remember, keep the fly size in that 2.5–3 inch size, and you'll find that most effective for winter steelhead.